Dream City. These two words seem to perfectly encapsulate the very spirit of Las Vegas. In this lively, ever-pulsating city, anything you can dream up feels like it could become a reality. Las Vegas is a place where the possibilities seem endless, fueled by the vibrant energy that flows through its neon-lit streets. The city's famous tagline, "What happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas," speaks to the wild, unpredictable nature of this destination, one that's filled to the brim with world-class casinos, extravagant shows, and non-stop entertainment. But as with any dream, not everything here is as glamorous as it may seem. While many come seeking thrills and fortune, some also encounter darker, more troubling realities. In Las Vegas, these shadows come to life in the hidden corners of the city, often known as the gambling capital of the world. As the name suggests, one of the more unsettling aspects of Las Vegas is the existence of the so-called mole people, a group of individuals who live beneath the city's surface, much like moles in their burrows. These people have made their homes in the city's extensive storm drains, originally designed to manage floodwaters and act as water channels during severe storms. And if you've ever experienced the intensity of a Las Vegas storm, you'll understand just how crucial these drains are for flood control. While it's unclear exactly when the trend began, it's believed that these underground residents have been present since the early 1990s, around the time when the storm drains were completed and became an unintended refuge. There are many factors that have contributed to the rise of the mole people. The soaring cost of living and housing in Las Vegas, combined with tourists who find themselves stranded and destitute after their money runs out, has created a perfect storm for this unfortunate situation. The city's significant low-income population only adds to the growing problem. Things got even worse with the 2008 financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic, which hit tourist-dependent areas like Las Vegas particularly hard, pushing more people to the margins. Life in these storm drains is undeniably harsh and far from suitable for human habitation. The residents, who have no other place to turn, live in conditions that are nothing short of deplorable. They face constant threats, not only from the dangers of flooding and severe storms, but also from the city's high crime rates. Many of the mole people struggle with addiction, which only adds to the perilous nature of their existence. In this environment, people are at constant risk of being harmed or even killed while they sleep, vulnerable to the unpredictable violence that can erupt in such a dire setting. Economic desperation fuels much of the crime, with rampant theft becoming a frequent occurrence as people do whatever they can to survive. Despite enduring these unimaginable hardships, the mole people often have no other choice but to stay in the storm drains. Government agencies and humanitarian organizations occasionally provide some relief, offering food, blankets, and other basic necessities, particularly during the harsh winter months. However, these efforts, while appreciated, are far from a long-term solution. The deeper, more complex social issues that push people to take refuge underground remain largely unaddressed. As a result, this hidden world beneath the city's streets continues to exist in the shadows, largely invisible to the bright, glittering lights of the Las Vegas Strip above. While the mole people living beneath the city capture some attention, they represent only a fraction of the numerous problems that plague Las Vegas. One of the city's most notorious issues is the widespread scamming of unsuspecting tourists. Known for its glitzy attractions and high-end luxury, Las Vegas has unfortunately also become a breeding ground for scammers who use a variety of deceptive tactics to target visitors. One particularly common scam revolves around music CDs. Scammers approach tourists, offering a CD with the false promise that it features local music. The moment the tourist touches the CD, the scammer demands payment, insisting that the CD has already been purchased. If the tourist hesitates or refuses, the scammer often resorts to intimidation, creating a scene and following the tourist through crowded areas, making it difficult to escape. Eventually, overwhelmed and pressured, the tourist typically relents and hands over money for what is, in the end, nothing more than a blank CD. Another prevalent scam involves fake monks who roam the streets of Las Vegas, aggressively selling bracelets to tourists. These scammers are particularly persistent, often rushing to place the jewelry on unsuspecting visitors' wrists, only to demand payment immediately afterward. If the tourist refuses to buy, the so-called monk may resort to dramatic tactics, such as bursting into tears right in front of them. By doing this, the scammer creates a scene, turning the tourist into the villain in the eyes of any onlookers. This public spectacle places intense pressure on the tourist, who, to avoid further embarrassment, often ends up paying for the bracelet despite never intending to purchase it in the first place. Then, there's the infamous Las Vegas girls. These women, often dressed in provocative outfits, roam the bustling streets of the city, actively seeking out tourists. Their approach is straightforward. They offer to take a photo with their target. After the photo is snapped, the real shock comes when the women demand payment, sometimes as much as $100 per woman featured in the picture. If the tourist hesitates or refuses, the women threaten to accuse them of harassment, going so far as to say they'll call the police. The threat of legal trouble or worse, turning a fun vacation into a potential nightmare, usually forces the tourist to hand over the cash to avoid a confrontation. The fear of being dragged into a legal situation is more than enough to make the average person comply. The fourth scam, and arguably one of the most sophisticated, revolves around the sale of off-brand skincare products. In Las Vegas, particularly in its busy shopping malls, you'll often encounter salespeople trying to sell pricey skincare products to unsuspecting tourists. These salespeople use charm and flattery to reel in potential customers, sometimes even claiming that the tourists look tired and could benefit from a little pampering. Male salespeople may even go as far as complimenting a woman on how much younger her face looks after trying a sample, which is all part of their persuasive marketing strategy. The real trick happens when the customer decides they don't want to buy the product after their free trial. At this point, the salesperson quickly attaches a steep price to the sample, demanding payment. What started as a small trial has now turned into a financial trap. These samples, which are often nothing more than basic creams with little to no actual benefits, can cost up to $400. And for the tourist who tries to resist, the pressure can be overwhelming, especially when they're faced with the reality of paying far more than they ever expected for something that likely holds no real value. For those planning a trip to Las Vegas, the best advice is simple. Stay focused on your itinerary and avoid getting sidetracked by the street vendors and sales pitches in the malls. While Las Vegas is known for its excitement and glamour, these scams can quickly turn what should be a fun, relaxing vacation into an expensive nightmare. Tourists who fall victim to these schemes often leave with nothing but regret, a much lighter wallet, and a bad taste in their mouths. The scams we've talked about are just the surface of the problem. Las Vegas also has a notorious reputation for fraudulent investment schemes, many of which are peddled by individuals who flaunt ostentatious lifestyles to lure in unsuspecting victims. One of the most shocking and well-known cases involves a man named Aaron Chavez. His Instagram page was full of images that screamed luxury: private jets, exotic pets, fast cars like Lamborghinis, and glamorous vacations around the world. Chavez made it seem as though his lavish lifestyle in his 20s was the result of brilliant investments, and he encouraged others to follow in his footsteps. But beneath the glitzy exterior, there was a much darker truth. Chavez's so-called investment opportunities were nothing more than fraudulent schemes. His rise to fame was built on deception, and his eventual downfall was as dramatic as his lifestyle had been. The turning point came when one of his investors, Gino Julian, grew increasingly frustrated with the lack of returns on his money. Chavez had received around $25,000 from Julian for what was supposed to be an investment in a protein cookie business. But despite taking the money, Chavez failed to deliver any results and became nearly impossible to contact, offering excuse after excuse. The situation spiraled out of control, culminating in a deadly confrontation that was captured on CCTV. Julian, having lost patience and feeling completely swindled, ended Chavez's life. This tragic incident underscores just how dangerous these scams can be. The consequences of falling for fraudulent investments aren't limited to financial ruin. They can, as this case tragically shows, lead to violence and irreversible loss. For anyone even considering an investment in Las Vegas, it's crucial to do your homework. Always conduct thorough research and be cautious when dealing with anyone promising fast returns or a quick path to riches. The temptation to live a glamorous lifestyle like the one Chavez portrayed is understandable, but as his story proves, it can be a dangerous trap. So, while the bright lights of Las Vegas may dazzle you, remember that beneath the glitter lies a world where dreams can quickly turn into nightmares. The dark side of Las Vegas goes far beyond scams, extending to its disturbingly high crime rates. It's not unusual for local authorities to advise residents and tourists to stay cautious, especially at night, due to the prevalence of criminal activities. The warnings are backed by solid evidence, with numerous reports underscoring the dangers of Las Vegas's nightlife. Armed robberies, which sometimes lead to fatalities, and assaults that result in serious injuries or even death, contribute to the grim reality of the city's after-dark atmosphere. Las Vegas is consistently ranked among the U.S. cities with the highest crime rates. Violent crimes occur at a staggering rate of 517.3 incidents per 100,000 people, while property crimes are reported at an alarming 2,924.3 cases per 100,000. Even more concerning is the relatively poor response from local law enforcement, with only 36% of all reported crimes being resolved effectively. This has remained an issue even after the city launched a special police unit in 2023 designed to address and reduce the rising crime rates. When it comes to Las Vegas, the city's deep association with gambling is impossible to ignore. A common question that many tourists and visitors ask is whether they can get rich by gambling in the city's famous casinos. The answer is simple: no, it's not likely. Take the story of Mike Mallon, for example, a man who gambled away his entire life savings in the casinos of Las Vegas. Instead of walking away with a fortune, he found himself bankrupt. His situation spiraled further as he developed a severe gambling addiction, unable to break free from the cycle of losing money and desperately chasing those losses in hopes of a big win. His story is not unique, and it reflects the harsh reality that many gamblers face. In another, more unusual case, Mickey Massey, known as the King of Baccarat, did manage to win an enormous amount of money, up to $11 million through gambling. However, his success didn't lead to long-term wealth. Instead, it resulted in him being permanently banned from all Las Vegas casinos. This highlights an important point. Even if someone possesses exceptional skills, such as card counting or understanding complex gambling strategies, the casinos will eventually take action to prevent them from accumulating large winnings. These examples paint a sobering picture of gambling in Las Vegas. Despite the thrills and excitement, the odds are heavily stacked against players, and the consequences of addiction can be both financially and personally devastating. Despite its controversies, Las Vegas remains an incredibly popular tourist destination, drawing millions of visitors each year. Its reputation as a dream city, filled with endless entertainment and attractions, is not entirely without merit. However, it's essential for those visiting the city to stay informed, remain aware of the potential dangers, and approach the temptations of the city with caution.